What happens when a woman who rose from the streets of the Bronx to one of the most recognizable performers on the planet sits down for what should be an interview to celebrate her career, only to have that career questioned by one of its supposed champions? This is exactly what went down during this iconic moment in daytime television and exchange that felt like the air had been sucked out of the entire studio. What you're about to witness is a breakdown of the moment Jennifer Lopez, a global superstar who spent decades meticulously crafting her image, finally reaches a breaking point. And when that happens, the smooth, polished, put-together front that we've all known for years shatters. The studio falls silent. The audience sits in stunned awe. And Joy Behar quickly realizes, maybe a little too late, that she might have taken on the wrong person. But before we dive into this jaw-dropping back and forth, make sure you hit that subscribe button and leave a comment below, because after watching this, I guarantee you're going to have a lot of opinions. Let's rewind to the beginning. The studio lights are blazing and Jennifer Lopez walks out and takes a seat at the now famous table. As always, she looks stunning. Her hair is immaculate, her makeup flawless. Everything about her appearance speaks to the precision and control that she's meticulously maintained over the past 30-something years of her career. The studio erupts in cheers. This isn't just your average television audience. These are people who have been following her career for decades. Women who have grown up with her music, her movies, her face plastered all over magazine covers and social media feeds. Jennifer Lopez is more than a celebrity to these fans. She's proof that the girl from the block really can rise to the top. Whoopi Goldberg kicks things off with pure enthusiasm. Our next guest needs absolutely no introduction, she says with a massive grin. She's a singer, an actress, a dancer, a producer, a businesswoman. The list goes on and on. Please welcome the incredible Jennifer Lopez. Jennifer beams and gives a small wave to the audience as they continue to applaud. "Thank you so much," she says warmly. "It is so great to be here. I love this show." Everything starts off friendly enough. When Sarah Haynes asks Jennifer about her new documentary, Jennifer's tone immediately becomes more personal. She speaks with such passion about the process of looking back on her life and letting the cameras capture both the good times and the challenges. She speaks of her kids, how she wants them to understand where she came from and what it took to get to where she is today. "You know, making this documentary was probably the hardest thing I've ever done," she explains. "Performing on stage or acting in a movie is one thing, but having people witness those intimate moments that you've spent your entire life protecting is something else entirely." The audience hangs on every word. This is the Jennifer Lopez everyone knows and loves. Glamorous, yet relatable. Powerful, yet grounded. The kind of superstar presence that feels curated, yet authentic. Things were going perfectly, but then something shifts. Joy Behar leans forward slightly, and the entire vibe in the studio changes in an instant. "So Jennifer," Joy starts, her tone taking on that familiar edge that all longtime fans of The View know is a precursor to a tough question. "You talk a lot in the documentary about authenticity and being real," she continues. "But let's be honest, your entire career has been meticulously built upon an image that you've carefully cultivated. How much of what we're seeing now is actually real? And how much of it is just a very expensive public relations strategy?" The question hits the studio like a ton of bricks. The other hosts glance at each other with nervous eyes. The audience falls silent. Jennifer's smile is still there, but if you look closely enough, you can see the faintest flicker of tension around her eyes. "I'm not really sure I understand your question, Joy," Jennifer says calmly, though there's an edge to her voice now. "Everything in that documentary is real. It's actual moments in my life, real experiences, real challenges. But Joy is not backing down. If anything, the slight tension only seems to fuel her interrogation." "Exactly," Joy retorts. "But you've been doing this for 3 decades now. You've had entire teams of people dedicated to carefully managing your image. So isn't releasing a documentary about authenticity just another form of controlling the narrative?" The jab is precise, aimed right at the core of what Jennifer is trying to convey. Some of the audience members squirm in their seats. Sunny Hostin looks like she's about to intervene, but Jennifer remains composed. "Joy," she says, her voice even and controlled. "There's a very big difference between conducting business professionally and being fake. Yes, I have a team, and yes, I'm careful about how my image is presented, but that doesn't mean the person you're seeing in that documentary isn't real." She pauses for a beat. "It just means I've learned how to survive in an industry that can chew you up and spit you out if you're not careful." And in that moment, everyone in the room seems to realize it. This is no longer a friendly interview. Something much bigger is about to happen. Navigate? Joy lets out a short, humorless laugh. Oh, is that what we're calling it now? Navigate? Because I'm sorry, Jennifer, from where I'm sitting, it looks more like manipulation. You've built an entire empire convincing people that you're still Jenny from the block, all while living a lifestyle most people can only dream of. The reference to Jennifer's hit song is not lost on the audience. It's a clear and deliberate attempt to jab her. Jennifer's jaw tightens imperceptibly. The entire studio is now dead silent. The audience can feel the tension in the air. This is no longer just another morning talk show interview. Something much more significant is taking place. That song was about remembering where you come from, Jennifer says, her voice a little lower now. It was about staying grounded, no matter how successful you become. She pauses again, choosing her words carefully. I'm sorry if that concept is something you can't relate to, but for me, it's been the foundation of my entire career. Joy leans back, a smug smile spreading across her face. Oh, I can relate to the concept perfectly well, she says. I just question if you actually live by it. Then comes the next volley. When was the last time you took the subway, Jennifer? When was the last time you waited in line at a grocery store? When was the last time you did anything that the rest of us do on a daily basis? The questions have taken a decidedly personal turn. Jennifer's legendary discipline, the same composure she's maintained for decades under the intense glare of the spotlight, is being tested like never before. She takes a slow, deep breath, visibly steadying herself before responding. Joy, she says calmly, her voice retaining its measured tone. I grew up in a tiny apartment in the Bronx, sharing a bedroom with my 2 older sisters. My mother worked 3 jobs to put food on our table. Her voice is imbued with a quiet strength now. I didn't have professional dance lessons or voice coaches. I learned by watching MTV and practicing in my room for hours and hours. She looks directly at Joy. Everything I have today, I have earned. There's a beat of silence in the studio. So please don't lecture me about what ordinary people do, Jennifer continues, because I was one of those ordinary people for a very, very long time. The response hits the audience like a tidal wave. It's delivered with such quiet power and controlled intensity that it's undeniable. It's the kind of force that has helped Jennifer Lopez dominate the entertainment world for decades. But Joy isn't done yet. It's becoming increasingly apparent that she came into this interview with a clear agenda, and she's not willing to back down now. That's a beautiful origin story, Joy says, her tone dripping with skepticism, and I'm sure it plays very well in documentaries. She leans forward again, but let's talk about something a little more recent. The tension in the studio tightens palpably. Let's talk about your personal life. A ripple of unease goes through the audience. You've been married 4 times now, Joy says. 4 times. Don't you think that speaks volumes about your judgment? Or maybe about your ability to maintain meaningful relationships outside of the spotlight? A wave of gasps washes over the audience. Alyssa Farah Griffin's eyes are wide with shock. Even Whoopi Goldberg, who has seen some of the most heated arguments on this show, looks taken aback by how far the conversation has just crossed the line. This isn't just a controversial question anymore. This is deeply personal, and everyone in the room can feel it. For the first time in the entire interview, Jennifer's carefully constructed composure falters, just slightly. The warmth in her eyes is gone, replaced by something colder, sharper. When she speaks, her voice is a low, steady growl. My personal life is none of your business, Joy. The studio is heavy with silence. My marriages, my relationships, these involve real people, real feelings, real lives. She locks eyes with Joy, and I'm not going to sit here and allow you to turn years of my life into a punchline about my judgment. But Joy presses on, seemingly oblivious to the clear warning signs that are now apparent to everyone in the studio. I'm just pointing out a pattern, she says. You fall in love publicly, you get married publicly, you get divorced publicly. She shrugs casually. And then the cycle begins again. The studio grows even colder. At what point does it stop being a romance and start being content? At what point does your love life become another commodity that you're selling to the public? The accusation is brutal. For a fleeting moment, Jennifer just stares at her, utterly stunned. This is a woman who has performed for presidents, headlined the Super Bowl, and built a billion-dollar brand from scratch. And yet, for the first time in this entire interview, she is speechless. When she finally speaks, her voice is soft, but it carries a weight that fills the entire studio. You want to talk about my love life, Joy? She says slowly. Fine. Let's talk about it. The audience leans forward, captivated. Let's talk about what it's like to try and find a real connection when every single relationship you have is dissected by millions of strangers. Her voice is sharp now. Let's talk about falling in love when you know that if it doesn't work out, people like you will mock you, dissect you, and judge you from the comfort of your own home. Jennifer leans forward slightly, her eyes locked on Joy's. Let's talk about what it feels like to have your heart broken in public. Time and time again. And still find the courage to pick yourself up and try again because you believe in love. The room is frozen. That's not content, Joy. She says firmly. That's being human. A beat of silence follows, but I wouldn't expect you to understand that. The response lands with devastating precision. For the first time in the entire exchange, the smug confidence on Joy's face flickers for a brief moment, but she quickly recovers, falling back on her familiar defensive posture. I'm just asking the questions that everyone else is thinking. Someone has to cut through all of this carefully constructed image and get to the truth. The truth? Jennifer lets out a short, incredulous laugh. You don't want the truth, Joy. You want controversy. You want headlines. You want a soundbite that will explode across social media for the next 24 hours. She pauses, letting her words sink in. That's not journalism, Jennifer continues. That's vampirism. The word hangs in the air, echoing through the silent studio. Joy's face flushes instantly, but before she can respond, Jennifer continues, her voice growing stronger, more confident with each sentence. You want to talk about the truth? Jennifer says. Here's the truth. I've been working since I was 18 years old. I've been told no more times than you could ever imagine. Her eyes stare straight ahead. I've been called too old, too ethnic, too ambitious, too much. A brief pause, and every single time I proved them wrong. The audience is completely still. That's the truth, Jennifer says firmly, but it doesn't fit the narrative you're trying to push, does it? Joy shifts slightly in her chair, attempting to regain control of the conversation. I'm simply pointing out the discrepancy between the image you present and the reality of your life, she says. That's a perfectly fair observation. Jennifer repeats the phrase slowly. A perfectly fair observation? And then it happens. Jennifer stands up. The entire studio seems to stop breathing. Standing there, she commands the stage with an unshakable presence that cannot be ignored. Let me tell you what a fair observation looks like, Joy, she says. A fair observation is that I've sold over 80 million records worldwide. Her voice booms across the studio. A fair observation is that I've starred in films that have grossed billions of dollars at the box office. Another beat of silence. A fair observation is that I've built businesses that employ hundreds of people. She leans forward slightly. Those are facts. And then she delivers the line that seems to freeze the room. What you're doing isn't observation, she says. It's character assassination disguised as an interview question. The tension in the studio is electric. The audience is utterly still. No one moves. No one speaks. This is not the polished, carefully constructed Jennifer Lopez we've grown accustomed to seeing. This is someone who has been pushed to the edge and has finally decided to fight back. Joy attempts to defuse the situation. I think you're being overly sensitive. Those are fair questions regarding public figures and authenticity. Fair questions? Jennifer's voice rises, filling the studio with a palpable force. Let me ask you some fair questions, Joy. The audience leans forward, eager to hear. What have you built? Jennifer asks. What have you created? Her eyes narrow, blazing with intensity. What have you contributed to the world besides sitting at this table and tearing other people down? The questions hang in the air. Jennifer continues, her voice steady but full of fire. I came to the biggest stage in this country with nothing but a dream and a work ethic that would crush most people. I've been a dancer, a singer, an actress, a producer, a businesswoman. I've failed publicly and gotten back up again. I've been publicly humiliated by tabloids and kept going. I've raised 2 children while running a career that would exhaust someone half my age. She pauses again. And I've done all of that while people like you question whether I deserve it. Joy opens her mouth to respond, but Jennifer raises her hand. The authority in that simple gesture silences the entire room. No, Jennifer says firmly, though respectfully. You've had your turn. You questioned my authenticity. You questioned my relationships. You questioned my entire life's work. And now you're going to listen. She turns to face Joy directly, her eyes filled with an unyielding determination. Do you know what I think all of this is really about? Jennifer says. I think you're bothered that I don't apologize for my success. The audience shifts in their seats. I think you're bothered that a Latina girl from the Bronx has accomplished all of this. Her words hit with precision. You look at everything I've built, and instead of being inspired, you feel threatened. And so you try to tear it all down, because that's easier than asking yourself why my success makes you feel uncomfortable. The accusation lands like a lightning bolt. Joy's face cycles through several shades of red as she struggles to form a response. The other hosts sit in silence, unsure whether to intervene or allow the confrontation to continue. That's ridiculous. Joy finally splutters. I'm not threatened by you, Jennifer. I'm asking hard questions. Jennifer shakes her head slowly. Hard questions? A hard question would be asking about the challenges of being a woman of color in an industry that still has a hard time accepting women. A hard question would be asking about the business decisions I made that everyone said were doomed to fail. A hard question would be asking what it takes to stay relevant in this industry for 30 years when women are disposable after 30. But that's not what you asked. She pauses, disappointment evident on her face. You asked about my marriages. You questioned whether my love was real. You suggested that my entire career was built on manipulation rather than talent. Those aren't hard questions, Joy. Those are cheap shots from someone who has nothing of value to contribute. Just as the tension in the studio reaches a fever pitch, Whoopi Goldberg finally intervenes. Maybe we should take a moment, Jennifer. Let's redirect the conversation. But Jennifer is not ready to let this go. Years of smiling through awkward interviews, years of letting criticism roll off her back, years of diplomacy while others took their shots, it all comes bursting out. No, Whoopi, Jennifer says firmly, though still respectfully. With all due respect, I don't think so. I think people need to hear this. The studio falls silent again. Jennifer turns back to Joy. You sit at this table every single day with a platform that reaches millions of people. That kind of platform is enormous. She pauses. You have the power to uplift people. You have the power to start meaningful conversations. You have the power to question ideas that truly matter. And what do you do with it? Her voice drops lower, but somehow becomes even more powerful. You use it to tear down women who have spent their entire lives trying to build something for themselves. You question whether their love is real. You question whether their success is deserved. You question whether their authenticity is genuine. The studio lights seem to glare even brighter in the ensuing silence. That's not journalism, Joy. Jennifer continues. That's not entertainment. That's cruelty. With a microphone. And I am not going to sit here and pretend your questions deserve to be taken seriously. The silence that follows is absolute. Joy sits in her chair, her earlier confidence completely gone. The other hosts look down at their notes, or at the table, or anywhere but at the explosive confrontation happening in front of them. Even the audience seems afraid to take a breath. Jennifer calmly gathers her belongings. The movements are slow, deliberate, as if she's already made up her mind. But before she walks off, she stops. She turns to face the camera. Not Joy, not the hosts, but the millions of viewers watching at home. To everyone watching this who has ever been made to feel like their success isn't real, like their love isn't valid, like they should somehow apologize for everything they've achieved. Jennifer says, her voice steady. I want you to remember something. You don't owe anyone an explanation. The audience listens in complete silence. You don't have to justify your journey to people who have never walked in your shoes. Keep building, keep loving, keep being exactly who you are. Because ultimately, those people who spend their days tearing other people down are usually doing it because they have nothing themselves that is worthy of praise. She pauses for a moment, then turns back to Joy one last time. Her expression is calm, almost unreadable. I hope you find whatever it is you're looking for by making other people feel small, she says. A beat of silence follows. But I don't think you will. People who build their careers on cruelty usually end up alone with nothing but their bitterness. And with that, Jennifer Lopez walks off the stage, her head held high. Her heels click sharply against the floor, each step almost like an applause. The audience remains frozen, stunned into silence. The cameras continue to roll. Joy Behar sits in her chair, looking undeniably smaller than she did when the interview began. What began as a seemingly straightforward promotional appearance for a documentary has morphed into so much more. It has become a moment of reckoning. It has become a powerful demonstration of what happens when someone who has spent years being underestimated finally decides to stand up and roar. And as the studio falls back into an uneasy silence, one thing is undeniable to everyone watching. The girl from the Bronx has faced down a challenge, and she has once again walked away a winner. But we want to hear from you. What do you think about this intense confrontation? Did Joy Behar cross the line, or was she simply asking the hard questions that a good interviewer should ask? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more incredible stories that will leave you absolutely speechless.